This piece is entitled Nightmare Dollhouse. And again, I've used found objects. I've used the siding, I've used the windows, but I've built it into something unlike the other pieces. But like the other pieces, there's this feeling of melancholy and this feeling of danger. All along here are glass shards that you can cut yourself on, and like on the other pieces, if you'd like to cut yourself on it, please feel free to do that. Up here, there's also broken glass. If you'd like to climb inside, you're also free to do that. Once again, I feel if you do that, you'll injure yourself, so just be aware of that. But that would be a lovely addition to the piece. But the reason it's called Nightmare Dollhouse is because, once again, we're taking the idea of context, and it's really too large to be a dollhouse. It's really too small to be a house, but it was clearly at one time a piece of a house, and a house that has been run down. Now, if you look at the siding on this side, you'll recognize it because it's taken from the same place that the piece in the other room is taken from. And you'll also see so many levels here. On the very surface, let's just start at the surface. On this side, which you can't see in the video, but I encourage you to come around and look at it, you'll see the paint peeling in an absolutely gorgeous way. It looks almost like Japanese lacquer, the way that it is coming. And like clouds, you can see different things in the peeling. Here it looks like a person's rear end, and here it looks like a t-shirt, and here it looks like kind of like a Chevy Malibu. But you can read that into it yourself, and that's the beauty of it. And once again, because it was found and natural and it's taken out of context, normally you'd see peeling paint, you wouldn't give it a second thought, or you might think, why don't they paint that? In this case, I want you to really examine it for what it is, for the layers of paint, for the beauty, for the shape, and also for the feeling of how time has affected it. You know, that's another thing that's an important element of this piece, is really time. Because at one time, all of this was new. The painted wood was new, the windows were new, there was glass in there. And so at one time this was contemporary and modern, also the shape of the mitered window on the outside. But now, just the mere presence of time, the unstoppable element of time, has transformed this into something old, decrepit, even a little ominous and frightening. What was this? And all of that has been caused by time. And so that's another thing that we don't like to think about, is that the same thing is going to happen to us. And so sometimes I get kind of choked up when I think about this piece, because I think about what it was and what it is now and what it might be in the future. Now, the other thing is, once again, that, like I say, there are sharp edges. If you'd like to bleed on the piece, then I encourage you to do that. On this side, you will notice that there's some paint, and I'm not going to say anything about that other than I want you to look carefully at that and see how you think it relates to the other pieces, and see if you see a relationship to the other pieces. I also recommend a great way to experience this piece is actually to drape yourself over it like this. And then once again, like with the other pieces, smell it. Because you can smell the age. You can smell a little slightly moldy quality, but you can also smell the wood underneath it. And it's amazing that over time, despite this being out in the elements for so many years, that you can still smell the wood underneath it. And all of these, the fragrances of the pieces are really, really very important. I probably would not recommend licking this. Once again, that you can do that at your discretion. But I do recommend that you smell them, because it makes a tremendous difference. And like I say, if you want to crawl inside, if you want to sit on it, it's a very sturdy piece. And mostly I would recommend making sure that you get down. Don't just view it from eye level. View it on your hands and knees like this. Stick your head in. Once again, be aware of the glass shards in case you are prone to bleeding. And put your head in there. Feel the sense of claustrophobia, the sense of being trapped inside it. What lived there? Why was it this shape? What would it be like to be forced to live in it, or to decide to live in it? And all of these will challenge your notions of what a house is, what a dollhouse is, and what a toy is.
Can you talk about the cube, which is the classic modernist?
And once again, this is what we were talking about with time, about how it was a perfect cube, which is so very modern, and yet at the same time you see the ravages of time. And I think that you could also compare this with the in and out piece in the other room, the small redwood cube, because they're both cubes and they both have this man-made element that's protruding into them. It also shows the sense that, even in this perfection, in the perfection of the cube, there's just massive imperfection. And I think that's also works with the sandcastle piece in talking about how one of the things that we do as people is really try to make things perfect. And they never are. And that sometimes underneath this facade of perfect, someone could say it's a perfect cube, things are absolutely falling apart. And you see that in people's lives too. You see people who are leading these kind of Ralph Lauren-esque lives, and underneath they're just a mess. So it's all talking about time and layers and perception and your ability to ignore it, transcend it, or accept it.
What drove you to make this?
In a way, children inspired many of these pieces and the way that I looked at things as a child. And so, actually, as a child, I'd always wanted a dollhouse. I wasn't allowed to have one because I was a boy. And so I made a dog house. And at the time, it was just a regular little dog house. But then I was thinking now that what if I made a toy or a dog house or something that wasn't new, that was made up of all these memories and feelings that I have from a child, the roughness, the danger, the broken glass, and so to me this is really a very emotional piece.
And are there any artistic influences that helped shape this?
Actually, they were more architectural than artistic. The Bauhaus, De Stijl, which is the Dutch design collective, Frank Lloyd Wright in the mitered window here. And the idea also of that is similar to the sandcastle pieces, how this modernist architecture is aging. And so at one time it was just new and the latest thing and modern, and now it doesn't have that same feeling, and that nothing we build is permanent. Nothing is permanent.